Welcome to week 6 of Nonprofit Management. We're almost at the end of the course. This week, we're going to spend some more time talking about kind of the governance and the board layout of nonprofit work. So let's talk a little bit about that. It's important, again, I can't stress this enough, that we begin to continue to lay down the foundation of the governance and the bylaws of our nonprofit. Now, for our time in this course, you're really not going to have enough time to really flesh that out a lot, but you're going to be able to kind of start foundations. Within your course project, you're going to have a section for bylaws and governance. What I want you to do, though, is I don't want you to get into great detail. Don't get caught in the minutia of that. Basically, what we want to see is just kind of your outline. How would you go about forming that? Maybe you have them already in your nonprofit organization. You can provide those. Don't take anybody else's bylaws. Kind of work through. The books are really good. Heyman does, I think, a fantastic job of laying that out. So make sure that you're using your readings and your research to uncover that a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen as we go through this topic here, because I just think it's something that we've got to spend a little time. We're going to spend a lot of time on it, but a little time today. When we're talking about nonprofit management, governance, and kind of board relations, I like this title, Structure Leads to Survival. Both books, both of our readings for this course talk a lot about structure and the key to structure and how structure is what really helps you survive. It's not your mission that helps you survive. As great as your mission will be, it's the structure within that leads to survival. So the first thing that we have to look at when we are talking about structure, we have to talk about acceleration. We have to accelerate, and how we accelerate through that is it's all about pace. All right, accelerate through issues and problems. That's what structure allows you to do. It allows you to pace yourself through issues, pace yourself through the things that are going to come, that are going to create problems for you and opportunities for you to kind of lead through that. Stay close to it. Structure allows you to stay close to your organization. When you're dealing a lot in detail, it does allow you to stay close. Now, understand this. You may not be the person, as you're leading out your organization, that is the most gifted in the administrative part of your organization. But you've got to make sure that whoever you have helping you do that you oversee them. Okay? You cannot oversee what you do not see. So you have to see what is happening within your organization, which means you have to stay close. The books talk about that you've got to play offense, not defense, which means that's moving the organization ahead. That means looking forward. That means as you kind of go through the process of governing your organization, that you're playing offense, that you're thinking always about proactive things that can come your way. All right. Be proactive. All right. And then you've got to also do this. Understand that there's opportunities, not problems. If you begin to see everything as a problem, it starts to weigh on you. Look at things as opportunities to lead through, okay? Opportunities to expand, opportunities to maybe refocus. Remember, we've talked about this, agility and adapting. That's this mentality of treating things as opportunities and not problems. Let's talk a little bit about board development in this week, because that's what the books spend, your readings are spending some time about. I just want to just briefly kind of go over this, because I think the books do a really good job of explaining board development. And you can find a lot of great academic articles out there on board development as well that people have written. But here's kind of 4 quick things. 1, keep boards lean. In other words, you don't need 30-person boards. Most of the research and most of the reading that you're going to do, you're going to see that says just keep your boards lean, keep your boards they don't have to be real small, but smaller, all right, because that's easier to manage, that's easier to lead through. Make sure that people on your board have a shared purpose. So they may come from different backgrounds, but make sure that their purpose is shared, all right, that they share in the same purpose, they share the same heart. So for us, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, we're looking for board members who care about schools, who care about the gospel in the schools, who care about young athletes and young people and coaches. So they need to share a purpose. Experience is important. In other words, you want kind of some seasoned people. You want experienced people. You don't have to necessarily be older people, but just experienced people So if you have someone that's a lawyer, make sure that they've kind of been in a law firm, they've been a lawyer for a number of years. That way they've got some experience. If they have experience in kind of your niche or what you're doing, that's important as well. So experience is important. And then I put this in there because I do think it's important. And they talk a little bit about that, term limits. Make sure that you have that you're rotating your board members in and out. When you have board members that stay too long, then the organization tends to get flat and it's not quite as innovative. So you need to bring in fresh people with fresh ideas that have seen the world and seen issues and opportunities and things out there differently than your current board. So board development is a key part of a nonprofit organization. You must have a board at whatever level you are. And you're going to have to spend some time in your discussions this week really talking through that and what are your boards going to look like and what committees would you have on your boards. And that's going to be included in your course project. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about your course project because next week you'll be finishing that up. So I wanted to kind of give you a head start on some things to really think about in terms of your course project for this section, and which is calling about governance and boards and bylaws and those kind of things. So these are some questions that you're going to need to answer in your course project. What are the specific tax exempt regulations in your sector of nonprofits? Now, the books do a good job of telling you how you can find that information out. So you just want to go find, you just want to have a little piece in there. What are the tax exempt regulations in your sector of nonprofit? They're going to be different depending on the sector. So they're a little different for religious sectors and they're a little different for social justice sectors. So you want to make sure what is the tax exempt regulations in the sector of your nonprofit. You want to know that. How will your board govern? What committees will be necessary? So how are you going to have your board govern? Is it going to be more of an advisory board? Is it going to be more of an active board, meaning that there's chairmen of committees like a finance committee or an HR committee or whatever that would be, or a development committee? And how do you report to them? Do you report information? Do they make decisions on hiring? All that kind of stuff. So how will your board govern? Include bylaws for your organization. We've talked about that briefly. So just you can research other bylaws. Don't steal other people's bylaws, but come up with your own. But just read a little bit about what bylaws are, and just give a brief. You don't have to have a lot of them, and it doesn't have to be really great detail. But the point of that is just to give them the point of what that language looks like as you build out your nonprofit, because that's important. Who and what mechanisms will be in place to oversee the governance of finances, law, and human resources? Who's going to oversee that? Is it an employee? Is it a board member? Or is it a combination of people that are going to help you oversee kind of the financial end of what you're doing? Who's going to oversee your finances? Who's going to report on that? Who's going to keep tabs on that? Who's going to look at the law and the way the law changes and the way the taxes change, tax law changes, and all that kind of things that go into, because the way the laws work, they could be different kind of as a national law could be different than a state law or a community law or a city law or a school board law, whatever that is. Who has all that information and who's watching to see if that changes? And human resources, which is very important. Who's keeping tabs on kind of the way you hire, the way you fire, the way you do reviews, the way you handle complaints, those kind of things. Usually the best organizations are those who combine employees and boards to make that work. And then in your course project, include a flow chart of officers and responsibilities. So what we want to see is a flow chart that has who are the officers. All right, that might be you and some employees, that might be board members. And what do they do? What are their responsibilities? So I don't want, you don't have to give detailed job descriptions, but just, more than a title. So you might give executive director, and the executive director is in charge of hiring and vision casting and donor relations, whatever that might be. And then you might have a vice president of the Milwaukee area, and they're in charge of building out the Milwaukee staff, whatever that is. But we just need to know some detail on that. Okay. So for your course project, you're getting towards the end here. Hopefully you've been working on this. This is just another little piece that's going to be added to it. By this time, your course project should be pretty much developed out. You should really actually have too much information, and you'd be beginning the process of kind of narrowing down your information to finish up your project. So this is again another exciting type of week where you're able to kind of put some legs to some things By this point, you should have your why your organization exists, what it's going to do, what is your demographic, what is your focus, what areas are you going to focus in, what are you chasing after. You should have your questions that you're asking yourself as you revisit your mission over and over and over to make sure that you're hitting your mark. You should now have begun the process of laying out your community map. As you finish that and you have your community map done about how the areas of communities affect your organization, how your organization will affect them from the inside out, and then working through your bylaws and your governance and your boards. So this should be coming together, and hopefully it's been a good process for you. So we're finishing up week 6. We're going to go into week 7, and we're going to be ending soon. So God bless. Have a great week. Excited to see the finality of you building out your nonprofit right now.